Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast live Sunday morning edition. How y'all doing? So it occurred to me I would like to play that Lionel Richie Easy Like Sunday Morning because it's a beautiful day here in Florida on Sunday morning, but I'm not going to do that because, I don't own the rights to that song, so I can't play it. So I'm going to just chill. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful morning here, and hopefully it's a beautiful morning where you are too. And yeah, we got some good topics for you guys today on the show. As usual, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chill for a minute while we go ahead and wait for some people to join us in the chat. In the meantime, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play my little thing, and then we'll go from there. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept aware anytime we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you enjoy the content as you listen, make sure you give us a like, a 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us, and write it down, put it in your phones, make a note of it. The Format Podcast is live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And finally, if you're really and truly enjoying the podcast and you want to help the show continue to grow, make sure you go ahead, click that join button, join the channel. We're going to have some exclusive content just for you. Okay, so as in most NFL off seasons, we've got quarterback topics, right? Most important position in sports. You have a number of guys who are available now. Matt Stafford was the Rams had given him permission to, I guess, seek a trade or figure out what would be his next step because he wanted different money. I think the report was that he was trying to get around $50 million a year. Which at this point in his career, like, is he really worth that? But I guess he's saying with what I've done and what I bring to this team and where the market is, pay me. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm the Rams, if I would have done that. Let's see. Let's see. So yeah, where were we? We were Stafford. So yeah, Stafford, however, has gone back to the Rams. They've restructured the deal and he'll be staying there. But the thing about that, I was looking it up, trying to find it. The terms of the restructure haven't been released. So I'll be anxious to hear that whenever those get out. Then you have Russell Wilson, who is Russell Wilson's a 2-time Super Bowl participant. He's a Super Bowl champion. He is still a very solid NFL quarterback. Now, you guys, I think, know my opinion on Russell Wilson. He has been very good in his career, but I also believe that early on that success was mostly on the back of the Legion of Boom and on the running game. Like, once those got taken away, even though he didn't have elite weapons in Seattle, it wasn't quite the same, right? The success wasn't there, but he really benefited from having an all-time great defense as well as a really good running game with beast mode Marshawn Lynch, right? So there's that. Then he goes to Denver, and I don't think he was as bad as it was made out to be in Denver. The first year was really, really bad because, Nathaniel Hackett just wasn't good. He was just not good anywhere he's been. So you have that. But then Hackett gets fired, and Sean Payton comes in, and he bumps heads with Sean Payton, but overall, his numbers weren't terrible there. They were solid. They had a really good defense, but he's not, in terms of the way he plays, what Sean Payton wants. Russell Wilson is a great deep ball thrower. He likes to get it downfield, but Sean Payton is he's not a dink and dunk guy, but he's a quick 3-step drop guy, 5-step drop type guy. A lot of, I think, West Coast principles in what Sean Payton likes to do, get it out quickly. And Russell Wilson is not quite, although he's still mobile, he's not as mobile as he used to be. So you look at a guy like Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a perfect fit for what Sean Payton wanted. And also they were trying to get Russell Wilson to reschedule, not reschedule, but restructure his contract. And I think it would have cost him some money. So Russ was like, nope. So basically, at that point, the Broncos were willing to pay to get rid of Russell Wilson. And he ends up going to the Steelers, who paid like $2 or $3 million for him. So decent fit there. Russell Wilson was injured going into the season last year. So he started off as the second string for the Steelers. And Justin Fields was 4-2 as a starter, but didn't kind of blow anyone away, didn't wow him. Russell Wilson comes in, the offense starts to take off a little more, but he didn't blow them away either, but he was an improvement in terms of overall offensive production in Pittsburgh over Justin Fields. And I want to say Tomlin and the Steelers lost, I think, 5 straight down the stretch, but they did make the playoffs, and they lost in the playoff opener in the wild card against Baltimore at Baltimore, which that's always good, right? So now what happens is this. You have Russell Wilson, who it was reported after the season didn't get along well with Arthur Smith. I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that's personality. I don't know if that's scheme fit or what, but he didn't get along with Arthur Smith. And Arthur Smith is I guess he's a bigger fan of Justin Fields. He kind of likes him better and figures that maybe Justin Fields works better for his system. I'm not sure, but he and Russell Wilson did not get along. So now Russell Wilson is kind of, he's out there in terms of where he may end up. So this is interesting. So here's an interesting thing about that though, right? Russell Wilson can still play. I'm not going to deny that. But I guess you got to start asking now. This is 3 straight teams, right? Seattle, where he won, and then lost the second Super Bowl of a possible back-to-back. And then Denver, where he goes, and, a lot of off-the-field stuff was problematic according to reports. And then he doesn't get along with Sean Payton, and then, he gets shipped out. Then he goes to Pittsburgh. That doesn't work out. He doesn't get along with his OC, Arthur Smith. So here's the question now. Yes, Russell Wilson can still play, but if you're in 3 different locations and not a lot of people have a lot of great things to say about you, at what point does it start being you and less about everyone else, right? This is 3 places now. Remember, he didn't get along with a lot of teammates, and a lot of teammates thought he was, weird or whatever term you want to use in Seattle. Then he goes to Denver, and he's got stuff going on there, and that didn't quite work out. Okay. Then he goes to Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh, and he's bumping heads with him, and that doesn't work out. It's like, okay, at what point is it you, right? So I don't know. But you got that going on. Then you have Sam Darnold from Minnesota, from the Vikings. Okay, cool. Sam Darnold has a career year, gets busy. Let's just kind of nicely ignore the fact that he has one of the best wide receiver duos in the league in Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, right? We can ignore that and act like Sam Darnold is something that we know he's not, because people were going crazy all year. Sam Darnold, resurgence. Oh, he's doing great, and you got to pay him $50 million. And I'm like, no. And I just sat back and I waited because I knew what was going to happen. You ever notice this about me, y'all? I try not to argue too much, believe it or not. I just like to sit back and wait, because usually the stuff that I say turns out being right. So I just sit back and wait. And then when it happens, I'm like, right? So anyway, Sam Darnold in the final 2 games of the season, arguably the 2 most important games of his career. The final game of the regular season, opportunity to lock up the number 1 seed through the playoffs for Minnesota. And then the first playoff game, he blew both of those, right? The first playoff game, I believe, was at Tampa Bay, and he blew both of those and didn't play well in either. What does that say? That says that, yes, Sam Darnold had a great regular season, great system, great weapons, but he's not what they tried to make him out to be. As much as they have wanted that, they being the powers that be, and certain people in the NFL media, Colin Cowherd, who jumped all over the Sam Darnold bandwagon when he had that great game in the Rose Bowl against Penn State many years ago. Then he goes to the league and they try to blame it on the Jets. Okay, they blame it on the Jets. Then he goes to Carolina, they blame it on Matt Rule in Carolina. Okay, goes to Carolina, blame it on them. Then he goes to where'd he go after that? I think he went to San Francisco. He sat most of the time with Kyle Shanahan. He learned there. And then he goes to Kevin O'Connell, who runs pretty much the same system in Minnesota, and he has a great year. Again, career year. But now everyone's talking about pay this guy $50 million a year. I'm like, hit the brakes. Come on, let's not go crazy here, because it's really frustrating to see that a guy has 1 great year and all of a sudden he's the second coming, right? And it's funny, even though Baker Mayfield has had multiple better seasons than Sam Darnold in his career, nobody was talking about paying him $50 million. Baker just freaking threw for what, 4,300 plus yards, almost 4,400. And I think was like second in the league in touchdown, more than 40 touchdowns. And, nobody's talking about restructuring his deal, giving him 50 mil, right? So it is what it is. But yeah, Sam Darnold, he's another guy who's kind of out there. It looks unlikely that he'll be returning to Minnesota. And finally, Aaron Rodgers, right? Four-time league MVP, Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl champion with the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, who didn't actually have a terrible year with the New York Jets this year, right? He did okay. It wasn't horrendous, especially the second half of the season. It wasn't that bad. But, when you deal with Aaron Rodgers, a lot of drama comes with that, a lot of ego, a lot of off-the-court stuff. And it's like, yo, just concentrate on playing ball, man. If you notice, I'm kind of old school with that. Like, again, I do understand that in 2025, there's a lot of different distractions out there in all sports, and a lot of guys have different interests, especially the younger guys. But now we're seeing it among some of the older guys too, right? The problem is Aaron Rodgers. A lot of times you hear with great athletes, they're the last ones to know when it's not there anymore. Aaron Rodgers has to know that it's not there anymore. But when new Jets coach, I think Terrell Austin, when he took over, basically they kind of let Aaron Rodgers know that, hey, this is not going to go forward. We're going to move on from you. And it was reported that Aaron Rodgers was really, trying to convince him. I'm not going to say beg, but he was really going in trying to convince him to allow him to stay because he wanted to continue there. So this is another interesting thing. The question is, can Aaron Rodgers still play? Can Aaron Rodgers still play at a high level? Would this be one of those seasons where, let's remember, this season is his first year off an Achilles injury, right? Ruptured Achilles. Now, first thing is, we always hear that it's not the year after the injury. It's the year after the injury that you see somebody get back to what they were. Salam, Sneed. How you doing, my brother? It's always the year after the injury that you see somebody, if they can, get back to what they were. Now, we see a guy like Adrian Peterson, who is, one of the physical freaks ever. And we saw what he was able to do, come back from a torn ACL like 9 months later and rush for 2,000 yards. And all of a sudden we get spoiled. Well, yeah, everyone should be able to come back. Yeah, not quite. Adrian Peterson was also not 40 years old, right? So you're older, which means you're going to take more time to recover. The recovery might not be as complete. It might not be as total, right? So you have all of this going on, and you wonder, can Aaron Rodgers, like, what percentage of his MVP self can he get back to? But on the flip side, you're thinking about Aaron Rodgers and you're saying, well, the great ones can often get back to a higher level, even if it's not their highest level, than the good to average ones could ever reach, right? So now you wonder, okay, if this dude gets signed somewhere and he has a chip on his shoulder next season, what type of Aaron Rodgers do we get? Do we get that type of dude that's able to come back and really be, some semblance of his old self? I don't know. Where would he have to go for that to take place? Does he have to go somewhere where there's weapons? Does he have to go somewhere where there's a system? Is he still a guy that can lift the team that isn't as good as it should have been? I don't think so, but you never know when you have an all-time great with a chip on their shoulder, what that can mean in terms of performance boost. Henny Hardaway was good, man. I'm not here to speculate on that. I just say AP was the freak of all freaks. He did that and he went insane the following season. So I'm not going to speculate on that, especially not in a public forum where I can get sued for slander. So nope, not commenting on that. The point is, he did what he did, and that has spoiled a lot of people in terms of returning from injury. Laker Nation says Sam Darnold didn't perform in the postseason. No, he didn't. He didn't perform in the two most important games of his career, right? That season ender against Detroit, where he could have cinched he and the Vikings could have cinched the number one seed all the way through, and then in the first round of the playoffs. So no, he didn't. But people were talking that. Let's see. Let's see. Kyle says 90 more means there are 15 better QBs. No, I will gladly take him on G-Man and draft a QB in the third, fourth round of this week QB draft. I assume you're speaking of Aaron Rodgers, Kyle, but you and I have talked about this. I'm telling you, Shadur Sanders is the guy, man, and you're really missing out on an opportunity if you're the Giants and he's available and you don't take him, man. He's a New York City fit in terms of being able to deal with the media, the lights, the glamour, all of that. And he's a heck of a player, and you'd be pairing him with an elite weapon in Malik Neighbors, man. I truly believe that would be an incredible 1-2 punch, and then you go ahead and you build around that. But we've talked about it, but I really think you're missing that. Let's see. Expectations for Arnold needs to be Darnold. Okay. Sneed says expectations for Darnold need to be realistic. Can't get too high on an average QB. No, you're right. And again, my thing is this: we've seen him probably in the best situation that he could have been in last year, and in the biggest games he flopped, like plain and simple. So that's that's to me, if you flop in your two biggest games, then that's it. It doesn't matter where you go because you had good offensive coaching, you had elite offensive weapons. Like that's it. There's no way around that for me. I'm just like, yo, just leave it there. He's not that dude. Is he a $25-30 million guy? Yeah, you still can't convince me he's as good or better than Baker Mayfield. But that's around where Baker's getting paid. I think 31 mil on his current deal. But Baker is like, he's lighting stuff up. He's getting busy. And he's doing that with, what has he had? 3 OCs in the last 3 years. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens with Darnold. But here's the interesting part now. Let's go ahead and look at some possible landing spots for these guys, right? So I was actually looking this stuff up. So it's funny how, there are certain organizations that need quarterbacks. So there's going to be crossover on this list. But Vikings haven't had a top QB they drafted since Culpepper. The Vikings drafted Culpepper? Yeah, they did. Okay. I was like, huh? Sneed says stuff gets real in the playoffs. Only the best defenses remain. Yeah, that's a fact. Playoff defenses will not let you do what you want. They only give you what they think you aren't good at. Absolutely. That's the whole thing is, what's the expression? Make somebody play left-handed, right? So, yeah, you're 100% right, Steve. So, yeah, Sneed, I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and look at where some of this stuff works out. So potential landing spots for Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Sam Darnold. So my man Kyle mentioned it in the chat. We know the Giants need a quarterback. We know the Steelers need a quarterback. Tennessee, Las Vegas, and possibly Cleveland, right? Cleveland also needs a quarterback. Interesting that they aren't really on this list. And also, here's one, the Indianapolis Colts. Not sure what they're going to do because I think they just made a big mistake with Anthony Richardson. They thought they were getting a guy who, he does have elite measurables, elite physical tools, but he just clearly wasn't ready. He only, I think, had 11 starts in college at the University of Florida. So you got that issue. But I think that they thought that with a guy like Shane Steichen, who helped to develop Jalen Hurts, that they were going to do the similar thing. But what they didn't realize, Jalen Hurts had already had outstanding quarterback coaching at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley, and he was already used to, winning big games and playing in big situations at Alabama, where he won a national championship and an SEC championship, right? So it's kind of, it's apples to oranges. I don't think it's apples to apples. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Anthony Richardson going to University of Florida, playing in the swamp, all that stuff. He played some big games, but never necessarily the most meaningful games, right? So you got that going on. So let's see. Let's go through this. Aaron Rodgers. As Kaz said, New York Giants. Rodgers has shown interest in the Giants, and they are exploring the possibility of signing him. So now this is interesting. So he badly wanted to stay with the Jets. Now he's showing interest in the Giants. Now my question is Aaron Rodgers more interested in New York City than he is in football? That's the question. Are there things going on there in New York City that he wants to be a part of? Now, listen, I lived in New York City for 9 years. I've been to London. I've been to Seoul. I haven't been to Berlin. I've been to Paris. I've been to, some of the major cities on this planet, right? And I will say New York City is one of the most amazing places where you could ever be, right? And if you have that kind of money, I think the life you could live is probably inconceivable to the average person if you live in New York City, right? So I get why he would show interest in the Giants. Clearly, he has some interest in being in New York, but is that the best situation for him? Now, he would have Malik Neighbors, and the question is, would Devontae Adams try to follow him there? I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I'll have to check. Would Devontae Adams try to follow him there? But the other question is, if you're the Giants, you just grab him as a bridge quarterback, and do you still draft a quarterback? I don't know. I think that's the interesting thing about Darnold, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. All these guys, in my estimation, would serve as bridge quarterbacks if I'm one of these teams, right? The Steelers need a quarterback, right? They need they need somebody that can really help the offense explode. Now, one of the big things with the Steelers, I think they also need a really viable number 2 wide receiver on the other side of Pickens. So that would help open the offense up even more. But they definitely need a quarterback, because as much as I like Justin Fields, it just appears like he's probably not going to be that guy on this level in terms of the NFL. And that could be just, he ended up in a bad spot getting drafted by Chicago, didn't have much weapons for his first few years, didn't have a lot of protection, and didn't really have good coaching. And there are some guys who just can't overcome a slow or a poor start to their career, right? That happens. So you got all that going on. Yeah, Joe Harrington, that's what's up, man. It definitely was cool, man. It was cool to have Bruce on here, man. At some point we'll probably do it again. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Let's see. Yeah, so Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, the biggest question I think people would have is how would Aaron Rodgers do with a guy like Mike Tomlin? Aaron Rodgers strikes me as a guy who kind of pushes back against authority, and Tomlin is notorious for what? The standard is the standard. Like, this is Pittsburgh. We're not playing that here. So that's the question. I really don't know. Henny Hardaway says LA nicer. LA nicer than what, Henny Hardaway? Not sure what you're referring to there. All right. When will Dak be ready? Ka says, are the Cowboys a possible landing spot? That's a good question. Now, what are you talking about when you say, are the Cowboys open for a possible landing spot? Just a guy to hold it down until Dak gets back? Is that what you're saying? Because, Jerry just gave this guy $60 million a year for what, 4 years or whatever it was. So Dak is going nowhere because nobody else is dumb enough to take on that contract. Henny Hardaway says LA is nicer than NYC. All right, let me say this, Henny Hardaway. I've never been to LA, so I'm not going to speak definitively. However, like I said, I've been to, some of the major cities on this planet, and if you have money, and again, this is not a shot at LA, so I'm not directly comparing them. If you have money, there's not too many better places in this world that you can live than New York City, and that I can say. I lived in New York City, and I didn't even have money, so but point taken, and I appreciate your opinion. Maybe one of these days I'll get to LA, and not that I have that much interest, but maybe I will get to LA, and I'll be able to make a better assertion on that. All right. Anyway, Laker Nation says you could tell what the QB market is by the Rams extending Matthew Stafford. Yeah, no, that's a great point. They didn't feel like there was a better option out there. I don't think they just extended him. I think they restructured him. So I guess it was a little of both. Nino, what's good, my man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Always good to see my man, Nino. Laker Nation. Yes, there is something about New York, man. New York is great. But anyway, Dante Brown said, morning, fellas. Great live last night. Need more Big Bruiser on the show. All right, we're gonna try to make more of that happen for y'all, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, okay, all right. Henny Hardaway, you're 100% right about that. New York has the best hip hop, no doubt. Yes, you're 100% right about that. But man, where's Edward when you need him, man? Where's Edward when you need him? He would not be trying to hear that. But anyway, back to the topic. So still on Aaron Rodgers. So Tennessee Titans, that could be a good one, and Las Vegas Raiders, right? So that I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Well, I think the Raiders are just in trouble, man. They need a quarterback, but I don't know. I would think if I'm the Raiders, I would try to trade up or try to get some trade capital and try to trade up and get one of these young cats, man. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is the way I want to go, because in a year or two, you'll probably still need a quarterback again. Or maybe, just maybe, he's a bridge quarterback. But then if Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, are you bad enough to have the number 1 overall pick next year, which likely will be Arch Manning, right? So I don't know. We'll Dante Brown. We'll get to Tank later. I got some thoughts on that. We'll definitely get to him later. I watched the fight a little while ago, and we'll talk about it. Let's see. Okay. So, and finally, Tennessee Titans for Aaron Rodgers. That could work. But I actually felt like Russell Wilson would probably be the better fit in Tennessee for maybe a year. And you still go ahead, because you have that high pick. You still go ahead and you draft Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders. And Russell Wilson is your bridge. That kid gets to sit and learn. And next year, he's the guy. Oh, and you get rid of Will Levis because, Will Levis is not a bum. I just don't think he's shown enough that you can keep him. So I would let him go. I would draft Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward, and I would, if I'm Tennessee, mind you, and I would sign Russell Wilson for a year as a bridge quarterback. I think Russell Wilson's days as being the guy, being the main starter on the team are over, but he definitely can mentor a young guy coming in. A guy can really watch him, learn how to prepare, learn how to be a professional, all those things, right, that they talk about. Russell Wilson, interesting. A reunion with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas could be a possibility. Now, here's a question, right? Las Vegas, Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. Why are people talking about that? Have they squashed whatever issues they had in Seattle? Or is Russell Wilson just that desperate for a landing spot and Pete Carroll desperate to have some success again that he says, you know what? Both of them say we can put this stuff behind us and we can make it happen. I don't know, but I know that I don't think that I would be looking at trying to get back together if I were either of those guys, right? Again, if you're Las Vegas, to me, I say try to figure out how to trade up and grab one of these young cats. That's me. Russell Wilson with the Giants. That wouldn't be bad either. Now, I keep talking about Malik Neighbors because I think he's one of the best young wide receivers in the league. He is dangerous. And Russell Wilson is one of the best deep ball throwers in history. So could be a really good 1-2 punch right there. Giants need some work. They got to continue to build that team, but that could be an instant infusion of punch to that offense. Let's see. Tennessee, Russell Wilson could do that too. Now, here's an interesting one. Here's another interesting one. Minnesota. If what's his name? JJ McCarthy is not ready yet physically. Russell Wilson, I believe, could do damage in Minnesota with those weapons. He absolutely could be a killer. So if you want an opportunity to make a run in what's already arguably the best division in football, right, in the NFL, in the NFC North, and you want an opportunity, because let's say Russell Wilson was in Minnesota last year. When Sam Darnold blew it in that final game, Russell Wilson wouldn't have blown it. Now, don't get me wrong, Detroit was great, but Russell Wilson probably would have won that game. He wouldn't have played nearly as badly as Sam Darnold did. And again, you're talking about giving an all-time great deep thrower those kind of weapons. That could be a problem, right? And again, that is your bridge, 1 or 2 years, maybe 1 year, until McCarthy is ready for sure. Then when McCarthy comes in, maybe you got a Jordan Love type situation or an Aaron Rodgers type situation. Obviously, you're not going to want him to sit for 3 years, but you got a situation where he's had plenty of time, sit, learn, and prepare, and he comes in ready like they did in the old days. Russell Wilson, Indianapolis Colts. That's another one to me that could work because you got Jonathan Taylor in that backfield. So you get a situation where you get back to he gets to turn around and hand off the ball 20 times a game to Jonathan Taylor, who could be his new beast mode, and he gets to play off the play action. You get him a couple of deep threats, at least one deep threat, and then some decent weapons in the receiving game. That could be dangerous too. That could be a good fit, Indianapolis. So, and then again, that's an opportunity if you want to keep him for Anthony Richardson to learn behind a really good guy, right? A guy who knows how to prepare, a guy who knows how to watch film, a guy who knows how to be a professional and do all these things. And then when Anthony Richardson comes back in, he's ready to go. But they seem determined for Anthony Richardson to be the guy, and I don't know why, man. Just sit the kid down, let him learn. Like they tried, but it didn't work. Finally, Sam Darnold. I said it already, man. I'm just not a believer in that dude. I don't know what is the right fit for him. I think probably Tennessee could work. Sam Darnold in Pittsburgh, they don't have enough weapons, and he would suffer. He's not good enough if he doesn't have elite weapons. I'm plain and simple. We've seen that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the NFL offseason quarterback carousel, where guys could go, what guys' situations are. I'm going to open up the phone line real quick, take one or two if anybody's interested in discussing that or any other NFL topic briefly. Let's try to keep to the 5 minutes, y'all, and just call in, give me your thoughts. And if you have a question, ask the question at the end of your thoughts. And once I hang up, I will do my best to answer it. So, yeah, we'll go from there. Let's do it. 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Aubrey Hextall, are you new too? I haven't seen you before. Go ahead, click that like and subscribe for me, please. Make sure you do that and hit the share button. Share button's powerful. Guys aren't available this morning. G might be in, but Transformers got some stuff to do. He's got some family things to do. So, I'm just here kicking it with y'all. A little different, but let's get it. Laker Nation, what's good, man? Oh, my bad. Hold on.
You're taking away from my time.
There we go. Nah, you get your time. My bad.
I'll just mess it.
What's going on, brother?
I just called to say good morning, brother.
Good morning, man. How are you?
I'm good, man.
All right.
It was a good day in sports yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Why was it a good day in sports yesterday, man? You tell me.
Well, we talk about that later, last topic.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of talked about it a little bit before the show started.
Okay, I got you.
That's the main thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad I saw one of the topics. That was a good one. But I'm gonna follow the show. Hey, Gino, right on time. Yeah, Gino, right on time. But I'm gonna follow the topic of the show and talk about the quarterback. I just got a question. With the weapons that Minnesota have, you don't think Aaron Rodgers will fit in right there at least for like a year?
Yeah. Did I miss that? That could definitely work. If I missed that, thank you for reminding.
That was one of the squads that I was thinking he could fit in, but you didn't bring that one up.
No, that definitely could fit. That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't know where Russell Wilson will fit right now. Because I agree with you. I think his time of being a guy is pretty much in the past.
Yeah, he's definitely a bridge.
Yeah, I just don't know where he'll fit for a year. Because even with him being with the Raiders, they were still struggling.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think when you say you don't know where he would fit, I think the question is what he is. The question is more so what we're expecting him to do wherever he goes. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the greater question.
He's another one that needs weapons around him, especially he needs a running game.
Yeah. That's why I thought that Indianapolis might be a decent fit for him. With Jonathan Taylor, he could play off the play action and he could turn around and hand it to him 20 times. It takes some of the load off of him in terms of expecting him to be something that he may not be able to be anymore.
That makes sense because I think they need to get a bridge quarterback too, because Anthony Richardson hasn't proven that he can stay healthy throughout the whole season.
Agreed, absolutely.
So I think they need to make a move for the future too.
I think they also need somebody that can teach him, and that's the thing about Anthony Richardson. Yeah,
and Sam Darnold, as far as trying to be a starting quarterback, I just think he needs to take a solid backup role. I think if he would have took Minnesota deep in the playoffs, I think he would have proved that he would have earned a nice contract. But because of with all those weapons and the playoff performance, as you can tell, I'm all about judging quarterbacks by how they do in the playoffs.
And that's how it should be. That's where legends are made, right? But see, I'll say this. The reason you're like that is because of who you've had at your quarterback position, right? You had Joe Montana, you had Steve Young. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sure helps. So I totally get it.
Remember,
even Kaepernick when he was young. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We had that same optimism about Steve about smoking Steve Young.
Steve Young was that dude.
I was young.
Man.
I was still young when he came around, but when he took over. But we had that. But we had a little bit more confidence because he sat behind Joe for about 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And he did step in a few times when Joe went down and performed. So
yeah.
We were like, okay, he can go.
But see, remember, Joe knew how good Steve was because he was like, man, he didn't like him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't like him being there. He wasn't a huge fan. He knew how good he was. That's why.
But you see what happened when he stepped in. He'll never be smoking Joe.
No. But he's really good. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But that's not who you're talking about.
Right.
Let's see. Who was the other one? Was Sam Darnold,
Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson because Matt Stafford is back to the Rams.
Yeah, I think they looked at the market and was like, it would have made more sense just keeping him for at least for another season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
That's what I think.
But I'm interested to see the details of the restructure, though. That's what I want to know, because they said they got him to restructure. So I want to know what that is, because remember the reports were that he wanted upwards of $50 million per year.
I don't think the Rams will pay him that.
No. Sean McVay came out in an interview and he was like, "Listen, he's worth that, but for us, it doesn't make business sense at his age and where he is in his career, and we're sorry that we can't pay him what he wants on that." But so I'm curious to know how the restructure went down, or what it was.
They're there. They're just they're at the cusp of being a Super Bowl champion.
Mm-hmm.
There's other places in there that they need to. So they're trying to win now. So it wouldn't make sense for them to give them $50 million when they're trying to win now, and they got to plug holes in other parts of the roster, and they don't have that much capital to do it with. So that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but they have a good defense, a good young defensive line now. They have obviously they got Puka Nacua, and you can always draft a good wide receiver. So that they're going to save some money with having released Cooper Kupp. They got Kyron the Siren, go Irish. But yeah, they have Kyron the Siren.
Man, stop doing that, man.
Hey man, look, it is what it is, bro.
I love the rivalry. I love the robbery, but it's not college football season yet.
Look, it's always college football season for me.
Man, we gotta when you do the college football, intro show, you need to have me and Steve on there, and whoever else you want. Let's have a big panel and let's just talk college football for a couple hours.
That sounds like a good idea. We may have to do that. I like that. But yeah,
what up, Tino?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's going on, man?
Hop back in.
No doubt. You got anything else, Laker Nation?
No, I don't want to take up too much time because your shows can get.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right, brother. What's up, G? What's up, G?
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Maintaining. Nino with the super chat. Thank you, brother, coming through, man. We really appreciate you here. Need to hear my theory on why Warriors is the only super team ever to exist. Ooh, I want to hear this. But before we do that, Nino, I do want to hear that. I'm gonna carve out. Remind me. I'm gonna carve out a special few minutes for you at the end of the show, and we'll talk about that. But the question is this: when you say super team, are you differentiating between player generated and franchise generated? Because it's not the same thing. So think about that while you're waiting. But yeah, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate you always. All right, let's go ahead and G, do you want to weigh in on any of this NFL QB talk, or you want to roll right to second topic?
Yo, the Steelers release Russell Wilson, and he end up back with Pete Carroll. I think that gives the Lakers some life. I mean, the Lakers still scarred from that damn last show we did last Sunday. That'll give the Raiders that'll give the Raiders some life. I don't think they'll be able to do much, but I mean, if I'm Russell Wilson, I would probably want to go back, play with Pete Carroll, close out my career, right? He probably got like 2 more years in him.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I was thinking Russell Wilson, 2 spots for him are Indianapolis and Minnesota, if he can get to Minnesota. Because he's one of the best deep ball throwers ever, and you got an elite receiving core, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. That would be crazy. Because I guarantee you, those games at the end that Sam Darnold lost in poor fashion, Russell Wilson wouldn't lose like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Indianapolis, you don't have elite receiving weapons, but you got an elite running back that you could turn around and hand it to multiple, 20 times a game, and then you could play off the play action. A lot like he did with Beast Mode in Seattle. So
yeah.
Thought.
Yeah.